without praising him. At the end, Shelley really screwed up. But over a period of time, he did a lot of good things for this community.
He says Silver's conviction has thrown the party into turmoil. He predicts a lot of people are vying for that seat.
It's going to be a bloodbath down here.
Whoever wins won't have the same clout in Albany that Silver did. Doug Musio is professor of public affairs at Baruch College.
There's nothing magic about the seat. It was Shelley's power that made the seat valuable. Now it's not worth very much. Certainly in an overwhelmingly Democratic assembly.
Yet, like many experts, he says unless term limits are imposed and there are changes to reporting outside income, the type of corruption Silver engaged in could still go on.
I would have to say I am not sanguine that the fundamental play of the game has changed significantly.
But there are a few optimists. Jeannie Wilkie is president of Downtown Independent Democrats and is hopeful that a younger, more idealistic representative could get elected now.
It takes a while for this dark cloud to lift and see that there is another side, and maybe somebody else can do a good job, and maybe somebody else won't be in the pocket of big developers.
Governor Andrew Cuomo is calling for a special election to fill Silver's seat on April 19th, the same day as the presidential primary. For WNYC, I'm Stephen Nesson.
And this is All Things Considered on WNYC. Coming up next, we go to San Bernardino for a live update from the scene of today's mass shooting, including a casualty report, status on the hunt for the suspects, and possible motive for an attack. That's next after headlines. Lows in the mid-40s tonight, rain through midnight, and it's currently 52 degrees.
I'm Stephen Dubner. On the next Freakonomics Radio, with music being played in just about every public space possible these days, why do you rarely hear music in the one place that really needs it? The public restroom.
Oh, it's disgusting, but honestly, I really try to avoid restrooms where there are lots of men doing fireworks, you know?
A little toilet music, please. That's next time on Freakonomics Radio. Saturday afternoon at 4 on 93.9 FM, WNYC.
WNYC support comes from the National Constitution Center, presenting a live debate tomorrow in New York with Intelligence Squared about whether affirmative action in state university admissions violates the Constitution. Tickets at constitutioncenter.org. The next New York Public Radio Board of Trustees meeting will be Wednesday, December 9th at 4 p.m. at the Boston Consulting Group, 430 Park Avenue. Open to the public. Details at 646-829-4000 or wnyc.org.
From NPR News in Washington, I'm Craig Wyndham. Police SWAT teams have surrounded the getaway vehicle apparently used by the gunman in today's mass shooting incident in San Bernardino, California. Aerial video shows at least one body at the bullet-riddled vehicle. Matt Gillum of member station KDCR has the latest.
It looked like shots were fired at the black SUV. It's been surrounded by law enforcement for some time, and they're bumping it with these big armored vehicles, perhaps thinking there might be one suspect still in the vehicle, or perhaps there was something in there that could be dangerous. Nearby, there's another scene unfolding where in a residential neighborhood, the police are going house to house combing for a suspect who may be in the vicinity.
That's reporter Matt Gillum in San Bernardino. Police say the gunmen, who were armed with long guns, burst into a center that provides services for the developmentally disabled and began shooting. 14 people were killed and 17 others wounded. Police say they do not yet know what the motive for the attack might have been. The UN's nuclear watchdog agency says Iran had a coordinated program to develop nuclear weapons up until 2003. NPR's Michelle Kellerman reports the State Department says the finding is consistent with what the U.S. has been saying about Iran.
As part of the deal to curb Iran's nuclear program, the IAEA has to close its file on Iran's past nuclear work. State Department spokesman Mark Toner says the report shows that Iran has met its commitments to answer the IAEA's questions.
The IAEA report is consistent.
with what the United States has long assessed with high confidence, and that is that Iran had a nuclear weapons program that was halted in 2003.
And he says the U.S. and other major powers will submit a resolution to close this issue at an IAEA meeting on December 15th and move ahead with implementing the rest of the deal, which includes sanctions relief for Iran. Michelle Kellerman, NPR News, Washington.
This is NPR News.
And you're listening to WNYC. I'm Jamie Floyd. New Jersey's transit budget won't be cut by $50 million now that Congress has compromised on a federal transportation funding bill. House Republicans want to cut money for transit in northeastern states, but New Jersey Senator Cory Booker says that was unacceptable.
So I led a letter and other of my colleagues on a big push to say, basically, heck,
Covers transportation projects for the next 5 years. It includes about $200 million for computerized train speed safety systems that could have prevented a derailment near Philadelphia earlier this year. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie's endorsement from New Hampshire's biggest newspaper, the Union Leader, has triggered a fight with New Jersey's biggest paper, the Star-Ledger. Matt Katz of New Jersey Public Radio reports.
After the endorsement, the Star-Ledger's editorial page editor, Tom Moran, interviewed his counterpart in New Hampshire and wrote a column about how the Union Leader ignored Christie's record as governor, and that the endorsement just accepted Christie's campaign speeches as gospel. The Union Leader has now responded by calling the Star-Ledger Christie's crazy ex-girlfriend. That's a line Christie himself has now parroted. For WNYC, I'm Matt Katz.
And tomorrow marks 1 year since a grand jury cleared the officer who put Eric Garner in a fatal chokehold. Activists with the Black Lives Matter movement plan to march to call for Officer Daniel Pantaleo to be punished and also to protest the shooting death of Chicago's Laquan McDonald by a police officer there. Terrell Starr is a Black Lives Matter activist. He says there must be stronger regulation of law enforcement.
In order for us to really see any change, America has to ask itself, how much power should a police officer truly have?
Marches are planned for Staten Island and Manhattan. NYPD Commissioner Bill Bratton says he expects them to be peaceful. And a rare bird has been spotted in Prospect Park. The painted bunting is usually found in the southern U.S. and Central America. Tom Stevenson, the author of a book about warblers who leads walks for the Brooklyn Bird Club, says the painted bunting is composed of some of the brightest colors imaginable. You can see a picture of a colorful bird at WNYC.org. Showers through the evening, through midnight in fact, lows in the mid-40s, currently 52 degrees and raining at 7:35.
Support for NPR comes from member stations and from Cancer Treatment Centers of America, where genomic testing may reveal additional treatment options for individual cancer patients. More about precision cancer treatments is available at cancercenter.com. And the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, dedicated to the belief that investing in women and children today ensures a healthy, prosperous future for everyone. More information is available at gatesfoundation.org.
From NPR News, this is All Things Considered. I'm Robert Siegel in Washington.
And I'm Kelly McEvers in Culver City, California.
Some suspects or a suspect has been hit. I believe there is still possibly a suspect outstanding. So it's still, again, a very active, fluid situation.
That is Sergeant Vicky Cervantes with the police department in San Bernardino, California. She is giving the latest information about a standoff there between police and suspects. Suspects who earlier today are believed to have opened fire at a social services center in the city. It's about an hour east of Los Angeles. We have learned that 14 people have been killed and at least 17 wounded. One police officer was later hit, but his injuries do not appear to be life-threatening. Joining us now from San Bernardino is Tim Reed. He is a reporter with the Reuters News Service, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Can you update us with the latest information about this standoff between the police and the suspected shooters?
Well, the police chief of San Bernardino is about to give a media briefing here in 10 minutes, but from aerial footage being shown from local news affiliates, it actually looks, I cannot confirm this, but it looks like 2 suspects have been killed. There were pictures of one being dragged from the dark SUV that police said was used to get away from the shooting scene. It looked like there was a second body in a field nearby. So now we are watching heavily armed police going door to door in the same neighborhood, searching for what appears to be a third suspect who's on the run.
Okay, so we know that police have said that one of these suspects was shot, but we haven't been able to confirm some of these other things that you're talking about. It's stuff you are seeing on the local news there. So you mentioned that one of these suspects might have gotten away. Are officials telling you anything else about that?
No, only that one suspect is outstanding is the word that they have used, although I'm sure we will find out more very shortly when the San Bernardino City Police Chief addresses the media, which is, again, in about 10 minutes' time.
Are police giving any advice to people who live in the area? What are they saying?
They're not telling people to stay indoors. They're telling people to remain vigilant. I'm not sure why that advice was given. They told people to remain vigilant a couple of hours ago when all three suspects were at large. I assume they didn't want to panic the general public, but that's the advice that's been given.
You have been there reporting most of the day. I mean, what have you seen there at the site of where the shooting happened earlier today?
Well, an enormous number of people, I think upwards of several hundred, were at the center at the time of the shooting. About an hour after the shooting took place, dozens and dozens of people were being brought from the center by police and loaded onto orange school buses and driven to a nearby church to be interviewed by law enforcement officials. Those interviews are going to be going on till late into the night here. It's probably going to get dark here in about 1 hour.
Were you able to speak to any witnesses or family members of people who had people inside the center as this was happening?
I got here after most of them had been evacuated from the center and was not able to speak to them, although I did hear one father got a text from his daughter who was inside the center while the shooting was going on, texting her father to say that there was a live shooting going on and that she had barricaded herself inside a locker room. She later texted her father to say that she had emerged safely from the shooting, and the father was extremely emotional about these texts.
That is Tim Reed, a Reuters reporter in San Bernardino, California. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
This is All Things Considered on WNYC. I'm Jamie Floyd. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg and his wife, Dr. Priscilla Chan, yesterday announced they'll give nearly all of their $45 billion to groups working to solve the world's problems. Specifically, they say by focusing on advancing human potential and promoting equality. The couple made the announcement in celebration of the birth of their daughter, Max. Here now to talk about Zuckerberg's latest move is Phil Buchanan, president of the Center for Effective Philanthropy. Hello, Phil.
Hi, Jamie. Thanks for having me.
Let's start with the Zuckerberg's first foray into large-scale philanthropy, which didn't go so well. There were mixed results from his $100 million donation to a nonprofit supporting Newark public schools. Now, that was a much smaller deal than this, but what do you think he may have learned from that experience?
Yeah, I think he's pretty explicit about what he learned, in the announcement of this unbelievable pledge of, 99% of their Facebook shares, explicitly talks about the need to take a long-term view, that change isn't going to happen quickly, and the need to engage directly with the people you're trying to help. And I think if there's one thing that wasn't in place in Newark, and this has been well documented, it was support and buy-in and engagement from the students and parents in the neighborhoods, in the schools that Zuckerberg and others were trying to support.
The Zuckerbergs have created a limited liability company that's as opposed to a nonprofit. So what are the benefits of an LLC?
I think right now everybody's trying to figure out what does it mean that they established an LLC instead of a private foundation. And I'm not sure anybody really quite knows the answer. I think there's some speculation that they wanted more freedom to engage in the political process than a private foundation might have. There's speculation that maybe they want to maintain control in a way that would be more difficult if they'd established as a private foundation. And I think that also it's early days, and we may find that we'll find out over time that, well, the announcement was about the creation of this LLC, that ultimately what gets established are multiple entities, including a private foundation. I know that's not what they're saying now, but I think that may change as they figure out what's most effective given what they're trying to do.
And they face some criticism over how they're deciding to give away their money. Some folks are suggesting that the way they're going about this is essentially a tax dodge. What do you make of that?
I'm no tax attorney, but I doubt it. I mean, I guess I'm a little more trusting that the intentions here are as stated. Another reason why they may want to go the LLC route is a belief that some social good can be accomplished through investment in companies as opposed to grants to nonprofits, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
The Gates Foundation, which was run by another Silicon Valley CEO, is a big player on the international philanthropic scene. How do you think the Chan Zuckerberg entity will compare?
I think it'll just be so interesting to watch and see, and that it's very difficult to know. You know, one of the things that I do like about what Mark Zuckerberg and his wife Priscilla Chan were very clear about was that this isn't easy stuff, and that they're going to learn as they go. And I think hopefully they will also learn from the history of philanthropic success as well as failure in this country. And I think, you know, we should expect that over the next 5 to 10 years, there are lots of twists and turns as they figure out how they're going to do this work, where they're going to focus. You know, it's a bigger amount than the Gates Foundation current assets today. So it's a big deal. There's no doubt about that.
Do you think this will have any effect on the foundation industry in New York City?
I mean, I think people will be watching with a lot of interest. You know, one of the interesting questions that foundations face is about the choice of whether to exist in perpetuity versus spending out. Too many foundations probably default to existing in perpetuity, and I think it's important to ask, what is the time frame that makes sense? And for certain issues, for example, if you're working on climate change, you know, it's a little bit hard to reconcile the belief that climate change is threatening our planet with the establishment of a philanthropic entity to exist in perpetuity.
Phil Buchanan is president of the Center for Effective Philanthropy. Thank you so much for joining us, Phil.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It is almost election time in Saudi Arabia, and it is not just men who will be voting. For the first time, women can vote and campaign for seats on local municipal councils. More than 900 women have put themselves forward as candidates. The election is next week, and it's being seen as a small and limited step toward democracy.